In this particular example, we will discuss the concepts of relative cell addressing, absolute cell addressing, and also of mixed cell addressing. Now, to illustrate these different concepts, we've got a simple example over here. And in this particular example, we will be calculating the product of two numbers using Excel. Now, Excel gives us the ability to use formulas to calculate the result and pretty much saves us time from doing lengthy computations. So let's look at the first set of numbers that we have over here. Now, all we have to do is tell Excel to multiply whatever is in cell B8 times whatever is in cell C8. So let's go ahead and try to enter the result over here in cell D8. So you'll do that by entering an equal sign, and then you can select B8, and then just include the multiplication operator, and then select C8, and this is pretty much the product that we want to calculate. So you can go ahead and click enter. Now, if the result that we get over here is pretty much the result that we need, and let's try to go ahead and try to copy this formula and then try to replicate that in the remaining cells and paste that there. So the results that we get over here look right. So how did Excel know what to do? So let's click on one of the cells that we have over here and see what Excel did. Now in the original one, for the result that we want it to be placed in D8, we pretty much told Excel to multiply whatever was in a cell 2 to the left and another cell which is to the left of it and multiply it and give us a result. Now if we have to click on any other cell, let's say 6 in this case, it pretty much did the same thing. It looked at the cell that was 2 to the left and multiplied it with the cell to the left of it. So this is what Excel calls relative cell addressing. Now that we've got a good understanding on how relative cell addressing works, let's try a different example and change things around. Now in this particular example, we again have to calculate the product of x and y. But in this particular example, it has just one value that's located over here in E6. So let's first try to calculate the product of 2 and 1 in this particular cell that we have over here. Now that's again simply done as we did before, which is selecting the cell X times the value that we have over here in Y. Now if we go ahead and click enter, it gives us the right result. Now let's try to see what happens when you try to copy the result that we have over here and try to paste it in the remaining cells below. It does not give us the result that we earlier obtained and not exactly gives us the right answers. So what exactly did Excel do in this particular case? Now if we have to look at the main formula that we used for the first entry, essentially the formula that we have over here tells Excel multiply the cell that's to the left of it with the cell that's 2 to the right and 3 to the top of that together and give me a result. Now if we have to look at the next cell, it pretty much tells Excel to do the same thing. Look at the cell to the left of it and look at the cell 2 to the right and then 3 to the top. But since there's no number over here, it just results in multiplying by a 0, and that's why we get a result of a 0. So what we really need to do to the original formula is to tell Excel that E6 has to remain consistent throughout the remaining entries as well. So what we're going to do is tell Excel to do an absolute cell addressing in this particular case. Now how you can do that is by placing a $ before E and a $ before 6. Now there's a shortcut way in which you can do this, and that's by pressing F4 on your keyboard, and that is what you would get right now. So let's go ahead and now try to to copy the result that we've got over here in the remaining cells. So the results that we've now got are the right results. So let's go ahead and try to see if Excel did the right computation or if it just happened to be by fluke. So if we click on this particular cell, it looks like it has multiplied the right value of X multiplied by the same value that we need for Y, and it pretty much does the same thing for the remaining entries as well. So this was absolute cell addressing. Now we've got a good understanding for absolute as well as relative cell addressing, so we should be able to now try things that get a bit more complicated. So let's just try to make things a bit more interesting. Now let's say if we have a table such as this, now it looks like a simple multiplication table, where we would have to find the result of the product and place it in these different entries that we have over here. And if we have to look at a particular cell, for in this case it would be this particular cell, the result that we want to display over here would be 3 times 3. And if we have to look at this cell right here, it would have to be the result of 2 times 4 displayed over here. So let's go ahead and enter the formula in the first entry, and we've done that before. So that's again by clicking the value for X times the value for Y, and go ahead and click enter, and it looks like it gives us the right answer. Now let's try to copy this formula that we have over here and then paste it in the remaining entries in that particular row. And it looks like the answers that we get are not right, since a 1 times a 5 should not be a 120. It should be a 5 here. So let's go ahead and first look at the second entry and see what happened over here. So let's double click on that. Now it looks like here is the problem for D9. What we actually want is C9, not D9. So what we have to do in this case is to go to the main formula that we used and tell Excel that we want it to be placed, we want the value of X to be in C9. Now a simple way to do this would have been an absolute cell addressing, but let's make things slightly different. All we want to do is when we try to copy this formula across this particular row, we just want the value of X just to get locked on that column C. So we'll make it absolute just for the column. So this is a type of mixed cell addressing where you don't have two dollar signs, but you only have a dollar sign before either the column or the row. So let's go ahead and try that out and see what happens when we try to copy that formula and then paste it in the remaining entries on that particular row. It looks like it gives us the right answers. Now, if we try to do the same thing and copy this formula across the different entries along that column and try to enter that over there, it gives us an error again. The value that we were expecting over here should have been a 4 times 1, and the answer should have been a 4, not a 24. So if we go back to the second value that we have over here, it looks like Excel did the right thing by telling it to look at the value that's to the left of it, but it looked at the value that's right above it. But we want to lock the value for Y in row 8. So let's go back to the formula that's there in the main entry. And what we'll do now is make the row for Y absolute. And that's done simply by placing a dollar sign before 8. And let's go ahead and click enter and try to copy that formula along that column. And it looks like now we've got the right answers. Now, if we try to copy the formula that we have over here and try to paste it in the remaining entries, we should be getting the right answers. And it looks like Excel has computed the right ones. So let's check one of these entries over here. For this particular entry, we expected a 4 times a 3, and it looks like Excel has done that. So this is a way in which you can use mixed cell addressing. Now, if we have to complicate things further, and let's say if we have to calculate the product of 3 numbers in this case, it should be pretty simple for you now. Now, it's pretty much the same table that we've had over here. The only thing is now we've got to multiply all the entries over here by the number 2, which is the value for z. Now, if we try to do that, we should be able to enter a formula over here, which would first include the values of x, and again, x is going to be locked in the column for c, but it is going to change for different rows. So we'll just not do any absolute addressing for the particular row. And then you would do the same thing, the similar thing for y. And for y, it would be D $7. And then you would just multiply it by the value for z. And we'll just change that to an absolute cell addressing. And let's go ahead and try to copy the remaining the formulas into the remaining values, remaining entries for the table. And let's see what happens over here. Now, it looks like we've got a bunch of values, but let's try to check some of the values that we have over here. So let's select this particular cell. If we double click it, it says that we are multiplying 3 times 2 times the value of z, which is the right answer. So this gave you an idea on how to use a mix of the different types of cell addressing that we've learned. And you should be able to now try out different examples to test yourself on the concepts that you've learned over here.